Only Jake remains in the living room, the only light coming from a window. He frantically searches his pockets for a flashlight but finds nothing. Jake calls out for Ethan and Lily. Yet, no response comes. The clock ticks relentlessly. In his desperate attempt to find an exit, he catches his reflection in a mirror. But in the reflection, he sees not only himself but also a little girl standing right beside him. A roughly 7-year-old girl in an old white dress, her face ghostly and her eyes sorrowful, clearly visible in the mirror. The girl's hair cascades down on both sides, and in her hand she holds the very doll that had lain by the window. The little girl smiles at Jake. His heart pounds fiercely, and for a moment his breath catches. He spins around, but finds no one. Only the teddy bear lying at his feet. Turning back to the mirror, the little girl's image vanishes as if she had never been there. Jake screams and desperately searches for a way out. In his panic, his hand finds the main door of the room. He slams on it. The door remains locked. In a final burst of panic, he throws his entire weight against the door. It bursts open and a figure stands before him. "Everything's fine. It's Dad," says Thomas Sullivan. Relieved, Jake feels that his father has come to rescue him. Thomas Sullivan takes Jake's hand and leads him away. "Dad, the curse is real. Abigail's spirit still lingers there." Thomas says nothing, silently guiding his son. As they near Abigail's tomb, he stops and turns to look at Jake. With horror, Jake sees that while the figure is unmistakably his father, the face is no longer his father's. It is the face of a little child in an adult's body, smiling with wide, unblinking eyes. Jake is paralyzed with fear. Before he can react, the ground beside the tomb sinks, opening a deep pit. Inside lies a coffin with its lid ajar. When the coffin is peered into, it is empty. Then, the larger figure shoves Jake down, tucking him into the coffin, and as the lid slams shut, the earth around the tomb resumes its normal state. Ethan finds himself standing alone in a long corridor, surrounded only by darkness and the echo of dripping water. The gloomy passageway is barely illuminated by slivers of light seeping through cracks in the ceiling. Faint footsteps approach, growing nearer. It is Jake. He is walking back and forth near Ethan. "We need to find Lily," Jake says, pausing as his face flickers in the dim light. Ethan rushes over, alarmed. "What just happened? Where did you go, Jake?" Ethan asks, his voice trembling with fear. "That's a story for later. We must leave now," Jake replies, then turns and walks ahead. Ethan follows hurriedly. In the faint glow, Ethan hesitates, sensing something is wrong. Jake is tiptoeing, his arms extended, his palms turned backwards. "Hurry up," Jake urges, without looking back. Is that you?" Ethan stammers, his voice shaking. "Hurry up," Jake repeats. Slowly, Jake turns his head again, but the face that meets him is not his own. It is the face of a little girl superimposed on that of a 17-year-old boy, wearing a disturbingly eerie smile. The figure begins to move slowly toward Ethan. Panicking, Ethan collapses, scrambling backwards while screaming for help. But no one is there. Only the shadowy figure steadily advancing. Its arm stretches out slowly, its eyes fixed intently on Ethan, the grin growing even more unnerving. Ethan curls up, clutching his head with both hands. "Are you all right?" a deep voice asks. Ethan lifts his gaze, hardly believing his eyes. There stands Richard Dawson, his father, with one hand resting on Ethan's shoulder. "Let's get out of here, Dad," Ethan exclaims, quickly rising and grabbing his father's hand as they dash toward the staircase leading down to the first floor. They run for a short distance, hand in hand. Near the stairs, Ethan glances back in horror. It's as if time stops. Richard Dawson remains standing exactly where Ethan had been clutching his head. Only his hand is still extended, holding Ethan's hand tightly. The man starts moving toward the far end of the hallway, and Ethan is gradually dragged toward him. Ethan cries out in desperation. When the man stops, Ethan sees clearly a coffin standing next to him. The same hand continues to pull Ethan inch by inch closer to the man and the coffin. As the grip tightens completely, Ethan finds himself lifted, slowly being placed into the coffin. Meanwhile, Lily is trying to escape from a small room, the bedroom that once belonged to Abigail. In a state of panic, sweat and tears mixing, Lily feels as though she's just been doused with water. Suddenly, the small candle in the room flares up, and Lily is able to see everything around her more clearly. She notices a small photograph, a family photo of 3, father, mother, and a baby about 1 year old. On the bed lies a tiny teddy bear with wide, round eyes. In an instant, Lily feels as if the bear just blinked. Beneath the floor, the wooden rocking horse suddenly shudders and the bedroom door slams shut. Lily dashes to the door, but it's locked from the outside. In that moment, she sees another photograph hanging right on the door. Lily examines it closely, hardly believing her eyes. The person in the photo is her, or someone who looks exactly like her at around 7 years old. The scene in the picture is so real. There's a lone little girl sitting on a swing. Behind her, the background is hazy. In one hand, she clutches the swing's chain, and in the other, a small piece of paper. Lily reads the paper, which says, "Hello, Lily. I've been waiting for you for so long." Lily screams, then collapses to the floor, unconscious. The clock chimes, marking exactly 12 a.m. on March 31st, 2025. Lily is later seen having breakfast with her family, horrified as she receives the news of the tragic deaths of her 2 dear friends. Jake and Ethan were found by the townspeople of Raven Hollow, hanging by their necks. In the pockets of both, authorities discovered a suicide note. Hastily, Lily eats her meal and resolves to prepare herself. She wants to see her 2 dear friends one last time. After changing her clothes, she stands before a mirror, a smile spread on her face. Yet her eyes are unnervingly large, completely white. She murmurs, "Let it begin."